Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by former two-time world bantamweight champion Paul Butler. Paul, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm not too bad.
We talk now about just over a week removed from your fight with Naoya Inoue. Don't look like you've got a mark on you.
No,
Testament to your defensive skills.
I did last week. I had a few lumps and bumps, but they cleared up pretty quick. To be fair, couple of black eyes, but no, it's what you'd expect now and again in boxing. I've give a few out, and I've took a few myself.
And it's been, over a week, as I said. Now you've had time to reflect. I imagine you've watched it back as well. What are your reflections on the performance?
I haven't watched it back. To be fair,
Okay.
I never watched none of my losses. I don't know why. I just don't. Maybe I should. Might learn a few things, but um, no, just reflecting on it, like from what I remember. Um, I remember coming out in the first round, and I just found his presence very. He was very present in that ring, and he was like he hadn't even thrown a shot, and I felt him just edging me back where he wanted me to be, and I just thought that's the class of him. Do you know what I mean? And it's partly the fact that you know what power's behind the hands as well, and you don't want to be silly and throw a lazy jab out and then come over the top of it. And so what half of it you cautious yourself, but then the other half is the sheer presence of him.
Was there a point in the fight where you felt like you were coming on and things, the tide might be changing a little bit?
I felt like I always knew I needed to get through the first three rounds. I felt like the first three rounds, I thought if he catches you cold, you're in trouble. And we've seen it with Donaire in the second fight. We've seen it with loads of his fights, to be fair, not just touching on the Donaire fight. He catches people early and he gets rid of them. So it was get through the first three rounds, see what he's like. We knew he was quite tight at the weight. And then I think round about 4, 5, 6, 7, I started letting my hands go a little bit more than what I was previously. And started to, and I could hear Joe screaming at me, let that go, let that. And I could see it, but sometimes my body weren't allowing me to throw it because I knew that counter was coming back. And you could see it in his face that he wants you to throw a certain shot. Like he
Yeah.
wanted me to throw that lazy jab because he comes over the top of it. He throws a little layback, boom, and he throws the right hand over the top of it. So every shot I threw, I knew there was going to be a counter on the end of it. And when you know what power he carries, it's half worrying at the same time as well. And I didn't want to be caught with a shot that I didn't see because everyone knows what happens when you get caught with a shot that you don't see. You end up on your back.
And now having actually been in with him rather than just watching him through a screen, how impressed were you with his all-round ability?
Very good, mate. He done everything well. I knew he done everything well. He's my type of fighter. What I like to watch. He's got hand speed. He's got power. He's got good foot movement. Good ring IQ. He's got everything. And yeah, when I got in there with him, I didn't expect the presence to be as it was because in the build up to it, I felt bigger than him. I thought he's tiny. Him. How's he putting these people away? I thought he's tiny. But then when he gets in there, it's a little bit different when you're in there.
What did you feel about the stoppage?
Good body shot. I couldn't really do no. Do you know what? I felt fine with. He was catching me clean right down the middle to the head, and Danny, I swear, I was fine with them. There weren't. I think there was one round where I went back to the corner, and my legs went a little bit wobbly. Other than that, he caught me flush with a lot of shots, and not once did I think, "Oh God, my legs are going there." Not once. Yeah, I knew he could whack when he hit me. You knew you were it, but it weren't like, oh God, I'm scrambling everywhere here to get my legs. But then the body shot, I think it was accumulation of shots to the head, and then he sunk one down. He touched me right up to the head, I think, and then went round the side. And when I seen the stoppage, I was kicking myself previously because I'm thinking I haven't tucked my elbow in, but I did. My elbow's tucked in, and he comes right round the side of the elbow, which is the class of the guy because he tried to throw it many a times before in previous rounds and didn't quite get it off. And I think if you look at round 11, look at the very start of round 11. Joe and Maka said to me, Paul, he's coming. He's coming. And I looked over Joe's shoulder and I could see him shaking his arms out, punching up in the air. And I thought, oh, there he comes, man. I thought, fuck. But I knew he was getting pressured off his corner because I could see his corner weren't happy with him because he weren't stopping me, and at times he couldn't shut me down in the ring. And I did have to move a lot because I don't want to take punishment off Inoue. Do you know what I mean? He hits hard, and I found out that in the end with the body shot, albeit a body shot, which is my pet shot and my favourite shot, the left up to the body, and I get done with it myself.
I suppose it happens to everyone eventually, but
it does, mate.
If you could do it all over again against Inoue, is there anything you do differently?
Yeah, probably let my hands go a little bit more when I could. Maybe that I probably wouldn't worry about getting stopped. I wouldn't say worried, but I didn't want to be that person that, like, was it Payana or I didn't want to be that person that was flat out on the back. Do you know what I mean?
Payana, I think.
And I knew he could do that at any stage. So you're off wary of that. But then once I did get used to the power and I was fine with it, maybe I should have let my hands go a little bit more. But like I touched on, his presence is just unbelievable in there. And it's hard to let the shots go when you do see them because he's going to counter your counter. So it was harder than people make out on Twitter. Do you know what I mean? It was a lot harder than what people make out on Twitter.
Given you won a world bantamweight title for the second time earlier this year against a short notice opponent as well, in Jonas Sultan, dangerous opponent.
You say short notice? He had 8 weeks.
No, I mean for you.
Yeah, for me, yeah.
You were expecting to fight someone else.
Yeah.
But yeah, so against him, you didn't know it was going to be that opponent until quite late on, and then obviously he's dangerous anyway. Then you've been involved in an undisputed title fight. Yeah, it didn't go your way. But do you assess 2022 as a good year overall?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I think I've won my second world title. I've been involved in, I think it was the only undisputed bantamweight world title fight. We've gone to Japan. We've boxed arguably the pound for pound number 1, number 2 in the world. A lot of people fear him. A lot of people don't really want to step in the ring with him. And I walked towards that challenge. That was the first fight I wanted. So yeah, I'm financially secure. That's what every boxer wants, and I couldn't name a bantamweight outside of Britain that's walked away. Well, I'm not saying I'm walking away from the sport, but that has walked away from the sport and they've been financially secure. I think what I've achieved is pretty good.
You're 34. You're financially secure, as you've just said. You've got a gym of your own, doing really well. Great things there. What would keep you in the sport?
I just love fighting, Dan. I just love fighting. It's in my blood. It's what I've done since I was a 10-year-old boy. We got in the airport on the way home the next day. I've got 2 black eyes, a little cut across the bridge of my nose, and this side of my head where I've been blocking the right hooks is swollen. And my dad just looked at me and he went, "Is that it now?" And I just looked at him, just shook my head and I went, "No." I can't say yeah. So I don't know when the day will come that listen, I am going to have a rest up until probably mid-Feb, something like that, and then I'll see what I do then. But all depending on my rankings and that. If my rankings sit well, and then if there was a chance to become 3-time world champion, then I'd be silly not to take that as well.
Well, he's likely Inoue, isn't he, to now vacate the belts because he's expected to go up to Super Bantam. I mean, is there anyone else out there at Bantam that you'd feel that wasn't a winnable fight?
Not really, no. I think on my day, I think if I perform well, I think I'm capable of beating them. I wouldn't mind a little trip over to Australia if Maloney was to pick up a title. That'd be every December. It seems like we go somewhere different. It was Dubai last year, Japan this year. Let's get
somewhere
over
hot
to,
as well in most cases.
Yeah, somewhere hot. Yeah. Japan wasn't too hot. It was 14, 15 degrees. It wasn't too bad.
Yeah, sounds all right. Not Dubai, but it sounds all right.
Yeah, it was not bad.
but generally quite happy with how everything's gone. I know you're not ready to walk away just yet, but you've got to be pretty happy with your career. A lot of people, I'm sure you know, were writing you off when you lost the first bantamweight
Yeah,
world title, the Tete defeat and stuff as well. And now, back on top of the world this year, resurgent, and
yeah,
involved in an undisputed title fight, the first at bantam.
yeah. I think, listen, that's what this generation does now. Everyone gets wrote off as soon as you have your first loss. I think everyone writes it off these days. I used them as fuel. I came back. I was better. Well, I lost to Tete. My second loss was even worse against Rodriguez because I had 3.5, 4 weeks notice.
Yeah.
But then you just need to look at the Sultan win and the performances I've had under Joe since I joined Joe. I think I've become a lot more rounded fighter. I'm a better fighter. I don't just throw for the sake of throwing just to please that crowd. I pick me shots. I throw me shots a lot better. And I don't really waste much. And all right, I've been beat by. It was a long night at the office against Rodriguez. I didn't feel like I took as much punishment against Inoue as I did against Rodriguez. I thought I was poor against Rodriguez. Obviously, I failed weight and everything there, and there's loads of stories behind that loss. I'm not saying I'd beat Rodriguez, but I just felt like I took less punishment against Inoue than I did against Rodriguez. I've had hardly any miles on the clock. So at the age of 34, I do feel like I'm in the best form of my life. I think the performance in April was a very good performance. You can't really take much out of Inoue because I am in the ring with arguably the pound for pound the best on the planet at the moment. So it was tough. So I will decide what I do within probably a couple of months.
You mentioned like weight making issues there. You're, as you said, 34. How have you managed to sustain bantamweight for so long?
Do you know what? Like when I boxed Rodriguez, we got the phone call and it was like it's that date or not. Thinking it was the Bellew Hay 2, and then I probably would have knocked that back, but then they were like, but the winner goes in the World Boxing Super Series. I just watched Callum Smith win that World Boxing Super Series. I knew what it was all about. I knew what money was available. So that was a no-brainer. I had to take that fight. Failed weight. And then ever since then, I've made weight for 8 rounders, for 10 rounders, non-title fights.
Yeah.
Shows I made weight for the Ryan Walker fight. There was no one in the crowd. I made 8 stone 6. Just to prove a point and keep me rankings. Because every time like I did make weight and an email would go over to one of the governing bodies, it was, but he didn't fight at bantamweight. So I started making bantamweight just so I could keep me ranking and push me ranking up. And then when it did, I think after Rodriguez, we got a proper proper nutritionist on board, and I've took on what he said. And ever since then, it's never easy to make championship weight, but it was comfortable in Dubai, very comfortable in Dubai actually because the heat helped.
Yeah.
And it was comfortable in Japan. I felt comfortable in Japan.
And are you, I guess, able to enjoy your Christmas now because the camp's done and you're not fighting at least until the spring?
That's it, yeah. Nice Christmas spent with the family, friends, and finally get a drink down my neck after 15 weeks of hard graft in the gym.
Yeah, well, you deserve it. Mate, pleasure to talk to you as always. But yeah, have a great Christmas and New Year. And yeah, look forward to speaking to you again, whatever you decide to do.
Cheers, Dan, and you. All the best, mate.
Take care, mate. Bye bye.